Oh, but wasn't bad, was it? Charlton beat Watford on the opening day of the season. Nathan Jones riles up the entire country. Oh, we're back, everyone. Hello there. Welcome in to those of you that are watching live and those of you listening later from the Valley Flow podcast. My name is Callum. This is the Watford post-match review. I apologise to everybody that's watching live for my haggardly appearance. Had a bit too much fun last night as well as in the game. Today we're going to have a look at some of the key stats from the game yesterday. We'll have a bit of a reflection on the absolute head loss that everybody seems to be experiencing, having watched Nathan Jones run up and down the sidelines. And we'll have a bit of a chat about where I think it means the Addicts are going in terms of our survival hopes in the Championship. I've got a couple of comments coming in. Hi, Sam. How you doing? Hi, Paul. How you doing? Well... bit of a game, wasn't it? It wasn't exciting. It wasn't not exciting. I was hardly sort of sat there on tenterhooks. I thought we were pretty comfortable for a lot of the game. It's nice to know stepping up a division doesn't mean you're stepping up a division in terms of refereeing quality. 3 stonewall penalties, all missed by the official. However, I think, to be fair, I think Watford fans were sort of saying, yeah, he didn't get the one for us, but to be fair, you've had 2 down the other end. The one on Josh Edwards, how on earth that's not been given? I sat right behind it. I do not know. But just one of those games where the officiating was pretty crap on the big decisions. I actually thought the game flowed pretty well. I thought he did a pretty good job for most of it. I thought there was a lot of sort of a lot of good flow to the game. I don't think he was stopping it too much, but to miss 3 Stonewall penalties, I think, is a pretty incredible return. We'll see if he's managing to see if he's refereeing a Championship game next weekend or not. We'll be interested to see what the referee union thinks of that. I don't know what everyone thinks. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with me. But I thought we were pretty comfortable in that game. Yeah, Paul, fully agreed. Just putting your comment up here. Pulling misses by the ref. It's a tough job and all, but still, it was honestly the Josh Edwards one was absolutely dire. How he's missed that, I do not know. He's come straight across him. He's clearly taken one leg out, and then he takes the standing foot out whilst he's at it. It could be 2 penalties. But anyway, it is what it is. We won the game. We move on. I think I'd probably be more annoyed about it if it ended in a draw. I thought we shaded the game. I mean, I think I've got some of the key stats here on the tickets coming across. You know, we were half a goal up basically in XG. They had more possession, but that's not a surprise. We're a Nathan Jones side after all. They had a lot more passes. Again, we're a Nathan Jones side. That's not a surprise. We won more tackles. Yeah, that again tracks. 1 more corner. But we had 5 shots on target to their 1. Their keeper made 3, I thought, good saves. The one off Lloyd Jones. Lloyd Jones really should score from there, but he's a centre back, so I'll let him off. That's the sort of chance you really wish falls to a Charlie Callum, don't you, really? But yeah, I mean, I thought we were reasonably comfortable for most of it. I think, again, Watford didn't offer a heck of a lot, which is you know, it's sort of reflection on both the fact that they have a lot of new players, they have a new manager, it's going to take them a little bit of time, and also the fact that Nathan Jones really knows how to set up a Championship side, especially if you don't have the technical quality of our opponents. I thought Josh Edwards was fantastic defending quite a bar. I think he kept him pretty much in his back pocket for the entire game. I thought that Amari Belf to me was the man of the match. I know that I think Sonny Carey got it on the official Charlton Twitter. I was very hungover when I saw that this morning, so I may have missed it. I'm pretty sure Sonny Carey got it from the official club website, and I thought he was very, very good as well. I thought Lloyd Jones won pretty much everything in the air, including in the last minute, and we'll talk about the goal in a little bit, because I think it actually shows a strategy that we've used from corners pretty much since Nathan took over. But I thought Kerry was good. I thought my only real concern was, and it's a player that anybody knows me knows that I really like Connor Coventry. I think he's an excellent player. I think we look a lot worse without him, but he got caught twice with the ball yesterday. And you can't be caught. You're caught by Watford. Okay, it's a decent championship side. We'll see how they sort of mesh. But if you get caught by Southampton on the press like that, it's deadly, right? I mean, we saw it against Birmingham in League One last year when he sort of dawdled on the ball on the halfway line. We have to be quicker with it. And the other thing was Doc. Technically, and I think I said this in my pre-match. I think I may have said it even in the podcast before, because it's been worrying me coming into the season. That technical ability at championship level, I just don't think it's there. And I don't think he played badly. I don't think anyone did. I just look at it and I go, you've got to be better on the ball than that. You can't give it away in that sort of area, in that sort of space. Because quite frankly, teams will absolutely rip you apart, and we're going to play teams that are much, much better than us technically, and are probably going to dominate the game. It's going to be hard enough without giving them the ball into sort of the middle bit of our own half. Kane Ramsey is Kane Ramsey. What an exceptional footballer! I saw someone, was it Firefly Fred, sorry, put a tweet out asking how much I sold Kane Ramsey for. Well, with 3 years left in his contract, there's not much. I don't think I need to worry about it. I think that probably at some point you may want to have a chat with him and see if you may have to raise the wages at some point. But this is a player that just looks a level above again. It's been one game. Let's not overreact to that against a Watford team that's actually got quite a few injuries in those sort of front positions. But those wingers for Watford are difficult, right? They're difficult to deal with, and he's dealing with the overload. I thought he looked absolutely fantastic. Got a comment coming in. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, got Paul. Agree we were the better side, but not by much. The great name for me, how many players who had never played in the championship would cope. Overall, I thought they passed with flying colours. Yeah, fully agreed. I was about to get on to Rob Apter. I thought looked really, really good as well. It's nice to have a winger on that side that can cross consistently. That's not a attack on Thierry Small, as a player I also liked. But I think having a player, it's full putting in, but I know it's only one game, yada yada. I think we're fully agreed with that. I think the only player that sort of up from the championship was Callum, but I think people are gonna have to kind of get used to this idea that the Callum's a finisher, right? He's never been a great hold up player. He'll make some nice runs in the channel, but he's not, he's not sort of a dominant forward by any stretch. And I think maybe the Callum TC thing, neither of them are particularly dominant up front, and I think probably they could have used that. The plus about not having Tanto or Miles starts, you can bring them on in the second half to cause that sort of damage against a more tired sort of back line. It's the classic sort of Chuck Nike thing, isn't it? Right? You bring them on when they're tired and they can't really, cope or deal with it. I think that when I'm, when I look back on that game, I think we did shade it. I think we looked a lot more dangerous going forward, but I don't think either side looked particularly dangerous. Watford's one shot on target was right straight at Kaminsky. So it wasn't a classic. I've often joked with my mates, and I stand by it, which is when I look at Bristol away with what they did to Sheffield United yesterday evening, and I go, we are going to commit so many crimes against good attacking football. We go away from home. It's going to be hard to watch when we are at home, let alone when we're in some of these sort of cavernous sort of championship sort of stadiums. My man of the match, I went with Amari Bell. I thought he was absolutely exceptional back there. I understand he likes to drive with the ball. And I think I mentioned, it must have been podcast 2 or 3, where I said one of the things that Nathan Jones clearly values are players that can drive. And what it does, it sort of allows you to have Lloyd Jones in the middle there, and then you have your 2 sort of driving centre-backs on the other side to sort of open up the space for an Apter, open up the space for an Edwards to kind of get forward. Coventry and Doherty then sort of often take a step back to kind of keep the sort of defensive shape. But I think that having a player like that with a left foot like that, I think is very, very helpful. I think he doubled up with Edwards quite often. He made Edwards sort of first game in the championship, I think, quite a lot easier. And you can hear him as well, Murray. You'll hear him sort of shouting at people and telling them where to be and where to go. And I think you heard that from Kaminsky as well. And I think that's something that we actually really haven't had. Macca's just a quieter centre back. He always has been. And Maynard and Mannion aren't particular sort of talkers. Kaminsky, you will hear over the crowd shouting at people. You'll hear Bell telling people where to go, and I think that's a really positive thing. I think from what I've heard, Reece Burke is quite like that as well. You'll hear him quite often. And then I've got another one from Paul. QPR generally played Charlie out of position. What was the minutes per game average there? 15 or so. Come good. No, I fully agree with you. I don't worry about Callum. My point was more he is a finisher, right? It's what he does. He's not gonna hold the ball up and sort of play these wonderful passes behind him, a la Harry Kane, right? He's a finisher, and we have to get him in the box, get him on that 6-yard line, really get a chance like that Lloyd Jones one in the first half, which if that had been Kelman, I think he probably puts that away. I've got a comment here from Sam, who was on Charlton Live this morning. Absolutely fantastic. Everybody go watch that. Really great to hear their perspectives as always. We definitely look decent for large parts of the game. Like I said this morning, it's great to see the togetherness already in this sort of space of time. Hopefully will help us out in the long run. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think one of the things we've done is we made a lot of signings, but we actually haven't changed the squad completely. You've still got kind of those sort of linchpin players in position. I think that trying to sort of teach someone how to do the Lloyd Jones job is impossible. Trying to teach someone how to do the Kane Ramsey job is really difficult. You have Conor Coventry sitting there and sort of he knows where to be. Doherty knows where to be, even if I don't think technically he's great at times. I think the only player I look at and kind of just a little bit more was Tyrese Campbell up front. Again, he looks bigger still. He looks bigger, which is good. I think he's sort of growing into his frame. I think again, you saw today there's real talent in there. It's just how do we get it out consistently? I think yesterday kind of did a job. He was trying to sort of go outside, open up the space in the middle. But it was difficult, right? Because Watford clogged the middle of the pitch, as I think most teams would do against us, because we're not going to play with huge amounts of width. And we have a player in Kerry who's a really decent footballer, but I think he's not sort of a killer pass player, right? I think that's more of a Harvey Nibbs type player. It's more of a Luke Berry type player that's just not really Kerry's game. Kerry's game is take the ball, cut inside, take a shot. He's really trigger happy, and I think that's a really valuable skill set. And he's a good short pass player. But I don't think he's a killer 10 in there. I think got a thing from Sam. Yeah, back on the Kelman point. I think to get the best out of Kelman would be to play alongside Miles or Oluwafe rather than playing with TC. Yeah, fully agreed. I think you need to put a big lad next to him to kind of knock the ball down, or to hold the ball up more. In Oluwafe's case, I think Miles' case would be more to knock the ball down. And we'll get onto the subs in a second, because I think that there's some really positive signs from those players, including the match winner. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a difficult one, isn't it, going into Bristol? And we'll have a preview. If anyone knows a Bristol City fan who wants to come on, let me know, and we'll do a bit of a preview with them. I've got another one here from Paul. Bell's a Rolls Royce. I love Macca. There's no doubt that Bell's a more skillful player. That is true, as Sam said this morning. Yeah, absolutely, fully agree. Sam knows my perspective on Macca. I've always been more defensive than most people. And I do think he has an excellent left foot, but I think Bell he can drive, he can turn, he can twist, and I think you sometimes you need that to kind of get out of tight spaces, especially when you have a keeper like Kaminsky, who's not a ball-playing goalkeeper by any stretch of the imagination. I actually thought his kicking was okay yesterday, to be fair. So I think it sort of shows the stepping up a level that people say that's not a goalkeeper that can distribute, considering what we've seen. On that. I got Sam said no comment. But no, it's true. It's true. I like Macca. I think more than most people do. I like, but I like Amari Bell. I think the Luton fans saying that he should have been going into League One. I think that's a little bit, it sounds crazy having watched him for the last couple of weeks. I get it, right? Pre-season, first game, don't get over the top, all the rest of it. The one thing I'm going to say that's completely over the top here is I think yesterday's kind of proof. I don't think that Nathan Jones has taken this team down. I think we were very, very competitive. I think we held our own. I think there was togetherness in that, and I just think as a manager, there's we'll get onto the subs now, but the players he brought on was to try and win the game, right? He wants to win the game, and I think you have to respect that, even if you don't love the celebrations at the end. But yeah, I mean, I think that in terms of the subs, I thought Miles was good when he came on. I'll come back to Miles in a second because I want to talk about the corner that goes in. I thought Tanto was good when he came on. Really sort of quite electric in the way that he was playing. I thought he was quite he's strong on the ball. He's quick, skillful. I think there's a lot to really like there. And then obviously, right, you bring Harvey Nibbs on and scores the winner. You can't. There's not very much you can criticize him for. But I think it's a really interesting thing. If we have a look at the goal, because it's something that we've done literally for months. 1 second, here we go. The Geordie goal, King's reputation in Charlton folk was assured. Come what may, absolutely true. Yeah, the was it the the Geordie Messi or whatever? Somebody had a really funny one about him, but yeah, I mean the free kick will forever keep him in our hearts. However, I actually think the header and the goal against Barnsley were really, really important last season as well. He doesn't seem to like scoring consolation goals, does he, Mac? He likes to score winners. He scored half a dozen goals from centre back as well last year, which is slightly mad. But going back to the corner, right? The winning moment. It's something that we used to do with the Nike all the time, right? We even did it a little bit when the Dapo was around, which is you take your really big lad and you stick him in the centre, almost on the penalty spot. And then you have Lloyd Jones sort of do this sort of circle run round motion. I'm making a hand motion for those that are listening later. You'll go round, and then you just launch the ball at him, and you basically make the sort of, you take the calculated gamble that he's going to beat 3 players in the air, and he quite often does, knocks it down. But because you have the big lad in the middle, everybody's defensively, when you look, you'll see that they're all staring at Leeburn, right? Because you can't not, he's 6'5". Right? And they're going, God, no. And all of a sudden, Harvey Nibbs just pops out around the back. Luke Berry did it all the time. Wide open, takes the ball, smacks it in the corner. Hey, presto. Game done. I still actually think it's a pretty reasonable height for the keeper, but it's close to him, so I'm not going to, I'm not a Watford fan. I'm not going to have a moan. Doherty actually did something quite smart in there as well. He was kind of almost under the keeper, so the keeper couldn't turn. So he doesn't touch him. It's not quite as egregious as the Keeley one. Or it was a Godden who quite clearly fouled him. But you see sort of Greg Doherty almost like pushed up on him, and then as he sort of turns, he can't turn properly, and that's when the ball just sort of hits Nibbs, and Nibbs just side foots it in. Much to my embarrassment, you'll see me on the Sky highlights. If you look to the left of your screen, I seem to be in everybody's social media videos making an absolute idiot of myself. But come on, it's a 93rd minute winner. We should be able to enjoy it. We got Paul here. We now have a squad worthy of the name. We're shopping at Waitrose now rather than the centre aisle at Aldi. With respect, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think we're. I don't think we're quite a Waitrose level. I think that's Birmingham, right? That's what Birmingham are doing. I know they lost yesterday, but Wrexham, Luke O'Brien, Connor Kojak, these are Premier League experienced players, right? I don't think they're going to be successful with Christian Eriksen. Then that's going to come back to bite me, I'm sure. But that's Waitrose at this level. For us, I think we're quite solidly out of the Morrisons and Asda bracket, and I think we're quite solidly into the Tesco bracket, maybe approaching the Sainsbury's. For those of you that are listening from internationally, you probably have no idea what I'm banging on about. But I think we're probably into the Sainsbury's extra and Tesco extra sort of position in terms of what we're buying, which is good, right? But we're not in the little centre area. We're just buying random things, right? Like we did under Bengana, right? There's not an attack on those players, but players like Mandela Egbo were never going to be good enough to play League One football week in week. I actually don't think it was too bad when he did play, but it was just never going to work, right? Whereas you look at it now and it's like let's go and get these. Aren't just, I think people forget, these aren't just good League One players. Like these are the best in League One, level talents that we're buying here, right? Like a lot of them are players that are former Championship, Premier League academy players. A lot of them, really can make the step. Is Sam Costco. To be fair, we did buy in bulk this summer. That is true, Sam. So maybe you're right. Maybe it is Costco, but buying it on a discount for American fans, it's Costco. Actually, to be fair to our American fans, I think it's more. it's more Safeway and less less Trader Joe's, more Safeway. I lived in the States for a long time. I have a lot of love for the country, but but yeah, it's more what it is for those who are listening from there. I don't know the Australian equivalents. Got a couple of Australian listeners. I'm sorry, I don't know the equivalents in down under. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that we look solid. We're hard to break down. I've completely forgotten where I was. Yes, I was talking about Wrexham and Birmingham and that sort of money that they're spending. But yeah, I mean, I think that that you look at that sort of money being spent. We're not spending that sort of money, but what we are doing, and this is a great segue. So we are spending money on the ground, right? You see the repainted sort of tunnels. You see, you see the improvements. Going to put a screen in. I think about doing the PA next year, right? There's a lot of sort of improvements being made. It goes back, I think it must have been to episode 4 I saw about buying the Valley. It's pretty obvious that they're setting it up so that they will be able to and buy it sort of, in good nick. But it's needed paint jobs. It's needed things sort of, old paint chipping away. It's just needed just sort of a redoing. And I think that is so important, to kind of make it look right. However, for those of you that were misfortunate enough to have to go and that were trying to buy a beer at half time, I'm a cider drinker personally. They ran out of cider 5 minutes before halftime began. They ran out of beer 5 minutes into halftime, right? Whatever your perspective on any of this stuff is, it's just not appropriate. Paul, this is my point. They need to sort out the catering supplies and service in the covered end, right? Like, we've got 25,000 people in, right? 25,000 people are in the Valley, I think, in total, isn't it? 25, were they saying? 21 home and about 3,000 away, right? Yes, I like a bit of a laugh at the away fans' expense, as any football fan does, right? But there shouldn't be 3 people serving for 3,000 people, right? There shouldn't be, the catering, it's not working, and it hasn't worked, I think, for multiple seasons. Whenever it's gotten busy, we just don't have the infrastructure. And I do have sympathy, right? We haven't had that sort of level of people coming, right? We just haven't. But when you do, you have to get more stuff. You have to have a proper number of kegs of drink, right? You've got to have enough, food to go around, right? Like, this idea that they're unable to do that, I think is really suspect. I mean, you put into point that as well. It's cheaper to buy a pint at Brentford in West London than it is to buy one at the Valley, right? It's the same thing as Meantime, right? It's all Meantime and Villas and whatever, right? How is that possible, right? How are they charging us this much, but not actually providing a service, which doesn't mean that you spend the entirety of half time standing in a queue and then have to down a pint before the second half begins, right? I missed you pay as a match fan now for a season ticket. I know I pay like 15 quid a game. It's fine, but it's just something where it's like, well, I've missed maybe a sixth of the game queuing for a beer, and then I got to the front and I paid for my drink, and they gave me 3/4 of the pint because they'd run out. Right? Like, I have huge amounts of respect for what the ownership are doing. I don't think it's their fault. I think there's a contract, right? There's a contract with Gather. It never should have been re-signed. But it's the sort of thing where it's like, you've got to have this stuff available, right? Like, you're losing money with the restricted sale stuff that's going on, as I talked about in the pre-match, and you're losing money on having a certain number of beverages, and also you're really annoying people, right? And you're charging us through the nose for it. It doesn't leave a great taste in the mouth, and I think it's something that the club really needs to have a rethink about. Do I expect them to? Not so sure, but I'm a fan, and I we shouldn't have to come on podcast and have a chat about the beer lines, right? Like, it's really silly, and I know they've got some priority queues, but those priority queues get absolutely rammed, and people are trying to get a burger, and somebody else is trying to get a pint, and it's just a mess. There's no organization down there. It also gets like really, really hot and sweaty in there. It's not particularly pleasant. And there's just a lot of sort of some of that sort of quality of life stuff that I think that they probably need to have a look at the way in which it is set up, especially as if it continues the way that it is, which is that we're moving forward as a football club, and that is a great thing. I just want to finish this. I know we're done do about half an hour, as I said, I was out last night and I'm absolutely knackered. And also, I want to let everyone go so you can all get back for the to watch Leicester probably put 7 past Sheffield Wednesday this afternoon. Or you can watch the Community Shield and just hope that Palace don't win it. Whatever you want to do with your Sunday afternoon. But Nathan Jones absolutely riling everybody up. Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. One of my favourite things. The a real classic of the genre of you can dish it out, but you can't take it, when he riled them all up after they've been calling him every name under the sun for the last 90 minutes. Fair play to him. Celebration completely over the top, absolutely ridiculous. You have to love it, right? Like, this is a guy who came into a football club that genuinely was on the way to League Two, right? And they came out of that Burton away game. We lost 2-0 a couple of seasons ago, and I went, we are going down, right? We are going straight down to League Two. And I thought, I cannot believe I'm going to see Charlton Athletic in League Two. And it would have been like seeing a Bradford in League Two, right? Like, and the worry about being in League Two is it's really hard to get up League Two, right? And I thought, oh my God, we really could be stuck in League Two for years and years and years, and it's all just going to crumble, right? And this guy shows up and he goes, all right, I'm going to fix it. That's where we are now, right? So if he wants to go and have a massive celebration and he wants to go and, rile people up and he wants to go and annoy people, fair play to him. Crack on with it. I'll support it. Like, other fans have sort of said to me, "Oh, you wouldn't like it if he wasn't your manager," and it's like, well, it's a good job he is my manager, then, isn't it? Utterly ridiculous. Fantastic, thoroughly enjoyable. That was what I didn't talk about. Funnily enough, was actually the guy that scored the winner. I didn't talk about Harvey Nibbs. This is exactly what Reading fans told us we were getting, right? This is absolute. There we go, Paul. That's the only emoji. Yeah, that's the only emoji that matters. Those who are listening, I'm not going to repeat what it is, but yes, that's all it is. Completely messing around. Here we go. I was going to read Paul's message about what happened to him. And the thing is, they got into the covered end lower about 45 minutes before kickoff. There's no side at the kiosk I was at. I ordered Peroni. The barrel ran out. Get the gaffer on the case. We should just send the gaffer like through the sort of the serving the surface and get them all riled up. That's what we should do. Yes, the players gang, because a lot of us shot out of a cannon in the first 10 minutes of that game. But that's what we need to do for the service. It is absolutely ridiculous. And to make it worse, like, they're serving you Cornish Orchards. The Sainsbury's opposite the ground, right? You can buy a bottle of Cornish Orchard for £1.50, right? Maybe £2 if it's not on the Nectar card offer or whatever, right? And they're charging you £6.90 in the ground, and they don't even have enough of it. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. If you're going to look like you might run out of it, just go to the Sainsbury's and buy a couple of bottles of it and pour it into a keg. I don't understand why it's that this, put it into the fridge in bottles. I don't know why that's difficult. There's probably licensing reasons for it anyway. But yeah, I mean, Harvey Nibbs, let's go. Let's move on from my moan about gather and gather, which we could be here for the next 3 hours. Everything Reading fans said about him, you could see it in the first 14 minutes. Good on the ball. Really high press, high motor. He's not match fit, and he's still sprinting up and down. Looks like a real proper player. Looks like a pinnacle. That's quite good. But yeah, I think that we're, it was always going to be a good signing, right? You left in the contract, maybe looking at 1.8 million, whatever. I'm not going to worry about the price, right? He's a good footballer, and I think that's the thing that I think sums up that summer window is we are bought in good footballers. We've given a contract extension to good footballers. All of the academy kids, minus the one that's gone to Everton, fair enough. That rule needs to change. We can chat about that probably in like a one of the international breaks or something. But like, academy kids are on long-term contracts. The Valley's being looked after. We're spending money on the pitch. We've got a manager that I hope that we all believe in. We've got players that are actually incredibly likable. We've got players. The new one seem to have really bought in. A great celebration from Kaminsky at the end. But you know, like we're getting there. Slowly, we're getting there, and I think my real hope here is that this is the start of building something. It doesn't feel like the game where we won at Blackburn, which was exciting, but actually, in many ways, we're quite, you know, we felt slightly lucky to win it. I know Bowyer sort of had his start in like a house on fire, but you know, there were worries about the squad depth and all the rest of it. That doesn't really exist, minus on the wing back positions and probably a cover for Coventry. But you probably can take the risk that you can get to January before you have to really worry about that. And if you can get Fukuwada on a free, great, right? So we're not a million miles away, I think, from being a real thorn in the side of many sides that come down to the Valley. The Leicester game is going to be absolutely fascinating. One, because you know that Madavidi will score, but also that's a step up, right? That's a step up about above where Watford are. Cifuentes is a good manager at the level. It's going to be really interesting watching their game today, see how they get on. Next week is really tough, right? Going to that Bristol City side. I didn't know who Max Struber was, and I'm a football nerd, right? So I didn't know the guy that took over at Bristol City, but watching that game yesterday looked absolutely fantastic. Now Sheffield United looked terrible. Don't get me wrong, but that is going to be a really difficult game. We're going up against a player that I've always really liked as well, and Scott Twine. I think he's a really good footballer. But anyway, we will see. I will see you all Wednesday, 7 p.m. to a preview of the Bristol City game. I'm going to try and get a Bristol podcast on if I can. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Let's just read a couple of comments here I have got from. There we go. Sorry. From Sam, makes me laugh. Everyone else moaning about Nathan. He's a guy with a massive passion and pride. As well, takes all the abuse, but capable of giving it back, including Backer does. Yeah. Can he go over the top? Absolutely. Do I care at this point? No, not really. There you go, Paul. Nibs the icing on the cake, signing with the icing on the cake. Oh, absolutely. It was a good finish as well, to be fair to him. It's a bit of a tricky finish coming back across. You've got to knock it across. And we got, he was the Barnsley manager who sent us down. He was, wasn't he? Oh, he was. Completely forgot about that. Yeah, he came in and kept him up, and then they went down bottom. Were they second bottom the year after? Yeah, he was Struber, wasn't he? I completely forgot about that. And they've got love the celebrations after the goal. Hope that will help us throughout the season. As that strength is key. Absolutely. I'm just, the main thing for me, I'm just so happy to watch Miles Lee-Bone play football with a smile on his face again. He looks like he trusts his body. And I think he's going to be very, very important this season. I thought he played very well when he came on. Thought Nibs was very good when he came on. As I say, Maribel man of the match for me. We will see. We'll see. All right, I will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you so much, for tuning in, whether you're tuning in live or tuning in to the podcast version. If you want the podcast version, tuning in late, whatever, it'll be out probably by about 4:30 or 5 o'clock, depending on when Apple processes things. But I will see you all soon. All right, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. See you then. At the Addicts. I forgot about the Stevenage game. I'll be at the Stevenage game. If anyone's at the Stevenage game, come say hello. I'll go sit in the A block or something in the West Stand. But yeah, I'm not going to worry about the Carabao Cup. I'm not going to worry about the Carabao Cup. All right, everyone. All the best. Have a good rest of your Sunday. And I'll see you on Wednesday for the pre-match for the Bristol City game.